Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Hangout brought to you by Perfectly Clear. We are talking today about using Perfectly Clear pretty much from a new user standpoint. We'd like to show you how several of the tools work, both for landscapes and for portraiture, and how they're going to make your pictures just look better, help you really refine your editing process, and we'll show you how to do it the quickest possible ways. It's much faster than any other software we've used, faster than Lightroom, Photoshop, all the other stuff. There's nothing faster than the intelligent way that Perfectly Clear helps your pictures look better. And my buddy Vanelli, my name is Levi, and Vanelli is here to help me show you what's going on. What's up, V?
Hey guys, welcome back again. Yeah, Levi said we're gonna bomb through, show you how fast we do our editing using Perfectly Clear.
Absolutely, absolutely. And V, where are you today?
I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm back home at my home base in Melbourne, Florida.
Right on.
It's a little nippy. It's like 72 degrees out here.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. That's really hard. Yeah, it's like 22 degrees out here in Idaho right now. So, yeah, it's a little chilly today. Did you get the snow this week? I heard there was snow down there.
No, not for us. Probably
No.
maybe near Jacksonville.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't get it.
Okay. Well, good. Well, so in addition to showing you guys how Perfectly Clear is going to work to help your pictures look better today, we'd also like to offer you the chance to enter a drawing for a complimentary copy of Perfectly Clear Complete. And so all you need to do to enter the drawing is leave us a comment in the chat window. Just say hello, ask us a question, tell us how the weather is where you are, and that enters you in the drawing. Like Ken Tannenbaum just left us a comment. It says, "Hi from another Floridian." I'm glad you're here, Ken. And if you are viewing on Perfectly Clear's blog or on photofocus.com, you need to click the little button in the corner of the viewer that says YouTube. It's right down there in the bottom left corner. And that will bring you to the YouTube page where you'll find the chat on the right-hand side of the YouTube page. And like Alan is checking in from the UK, he's looking forward to our webinar. He says tonight. I don't know what you're talking about. Like the sun just barely came up here, Alan. So it's really fun to have everybody tuning in from around the world. And we'd love to hear from you guys with a comment or a question. And with that, shall we dive into it, V?
You got it.
Let's get moving. All right, so first of all, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to verify that you can see my screen. I'm sharing, and you guys should all see my Lightroom window. I've got this. So last time, V, we had a little snafu, and I didn't switch screens. That was being broadcast. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Anyhow, this time I've got the chat in a separate monitor. So if there's a problem, and you guys leave me a comment saying, "Levi, I can't see your screen," I'm going to see it this time. So that should be remedied. What I'd like to do is show you how I would make this picture look great. And I think I'm going to start with the HDR. So I've already compiled my bracket, like you can see down here, that I shot brackets for this photograph. And you can see all the way from down here, really dark, up to one that's way too bright. And I used Aurora HDR to compile this into an HDR picture. And it looks pretty good. Like Aurora HDR does a good job, but there's a few things that Perfectly Clear, not that one, this one, is going to do better for me, and especially regarding color. And so let's go over and edit in Perfectly Clear Complete. I am launching from Lightroom, and so I get to choose what kind of a file format I'm going to use. And in this case, I've already got a TIFF open, and so I'm going to edit the actually, I want to make sure that I'm not editing my total original. So I'm going to hit Edit a Copy with Lightroom Adjustments, and it'll create a new TIFF file in the ProPhoto RGB, and it'll bring that picture right back into Lightroom for me. Now, Perfectly Clear is a plugin for Lightroom. It's a plugin for Photoshop, and it's now a standalone product for a standalone RAW editor as well. So you can open any RAW file directly in Perfectly Clear Complete and get to work on it. You don't have to have Lightroom or Photoshop or Capture One or some of the other things it plugs into. I think it plugs into Corel Draw as well. And so here's my picture, and I've started with a preset right here called zeroed. That's just my personal preference. I like to start with all my settings at 0. So there's nothing that's been applied to the picture yet. And I'm going to start from scratch and get into it. And so I'll start with a little bit of exposure and just see what it does for me. And the key to using exposure, as I brighten this, there's a couple of things that happen. First of all, the bright areas don't get too bright. It really just works on the dark areas, which is cool. But it's getting a bit washed out. Like it's brightening the dark areas to the point that I don't have very nice contrast in the picture. But at the same time, it's not adding noise. Like down here in the corner, let's zoom in a bit. You can see down here under the ferns where it's really dark, it's brightened it, but it hasn't added any noise. And that's one of my favorite things about Perfectly Clear for my landscape work, is that I can get the brightness up to where I need it without adding noise to any of the photograph. And that's really cool. And so, but every time you make an exposure adjustment, I think you should also do a depth adjustment, which brings some dark back into the dark areas. Like it brings the shadows back a bit. And there's two options. There's the high contrast or the high definition. And I can't tell you that I always use one or the other. I always click on it and see which one I like better. And I think in this case, I like the high definition better, maybe even a little bit more of it. Yeah. So let's take a look at my before and after. See, it's brightening the overall value of the picture, but it's still maintaining some contrast in there. And I like that a whole lot. I'm going to bring that up even a little higher. Okay, and now, and Don't88 says, sign me up for free stuff. V, will you sign up Don't88 for the free stuff? There's always a free trial of Perfectly Clear Complete, so you can always download the free trial yourself. And I believe it's 30 days. And it's a fully functional trial version too. There's no watermarking and there's no hidden features that you don't get when you're using Perfectly Clear Complete in the trial mode. So I highly recommend downloading that. And then Don't88, that comment gets you signed up for the raffle too. So you are in the drawing for a free copy. Now, if I just click on the picture, I can also see before and after. So there's the before and there's the after. And knowing where I'm going, I like what we've done. So it's a bit like I like the dark contrast here better, but I know that I'm going to be bringing that back with some of the local adjustments. And so I want to keep it as I've done right here for now. And I'll show you what I mean in a sec. So having finished what I'm doing with the tone, let's go down to color. And this is one of my favorite things. There's this button called Fidelity. And with Fidelity, it brings back more color range into greens, blues, and purples. And like this, I made this picture in Oregon, and there's a million colors of green in Oregon. But the camera has a hard time recording the range of color. So right down here in the bottom left of my screen, let me zoom in on that spot a little bit. Down here, we see the green ferns, and they're all the same tone. And then these leaves on this little maple aren't even that much different, or it's probably an oak, aren't very different either. But if I click Fidelity, it brings back some yellow, some brown tones into the green areas. And it looks so much more natural. Instead of looking like a digital photograph like it does right now, when I activate the Fidelity again, you get more brown and green in it. I hope you guys can see that. It might be too subtle for the broadcast, but I hope you can see that color is changing. And I think it's a small change, but it's a very significant change, and I love it for my landscapes. And I'll go high on this one. I'll go lower on others. When I'm using it for portraits, it's amazing how well it works to bring back the vibrance and the true colors of a blue blouse or a purple shirt or a jersey. And that little button is really powerful for those things. And then also in this picture, I want to use the Foliage Enhance. And we'll go back out to zoom back out here. With the Foliage Enhance, you can choose these different preset enhancements, and they are affecting different colors in the scene. So with Goldenrod, it's really enhancing all the yellows. And green, believe it or not, is primarily composed of yellow. And so when we act on those yellows, it's really changing stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like the way this looks right now. But if I come down here, I think I'm going to like the forest green. And we'll tone it back a bit, something like that. And here it is before and after. And now, not only do we have more of the true range of color, but it's given it just a little bit of pop, maybe a bit more. And look at the before and after as I slide this across. Look at how sterile green, like that was just like Crayola color green before on the left side. And now I've got like a much more natural kind of forest looking green in there with more browns and yellows in the undertones. And I think it's much better. So give that a shot. And then let's also, we've got this one where we can add some enhancement to the red tones on this side. And I like what that does very well. That's a bit too strong. Let's try the burnt sienna. Nope, too yellow. Sepia, perhaps. That's looking pretty good. Before and after. I think I'll go with the sepia on that one. And so that's looking good, before and after. Okay, now let's use this new tool. And this is brand new in version 3.5, and it's the graduated filters. And it's a lot like, excuse me, it's a lot like Photoshop and Lightroom in that we can create a circular gradient or a rectangular gradient. The cool thing here, especially compared to Lightroom, is that even with the rectangular gradients, we can alter inside or outside as far as where the gradient is falling. And I'll try to explain that better. I'm going to use the round one for this to give a little more highlight to my bush. And let's just shape this a little bit here. You can draw the shape upward instead of across. Too much. There we go, something like that. And then I'm going to rotate it a little bit. Oops, let's go the other way. Just to kind of match where my bush is. And then I can also change where the center is. I'm going to lift it up a little bit. And yeah, that's better. That's better. That gives me more openness in the sky up above, and allows me to kind of shape where this vignette is falling. I think I'll pull it a little bit more round after all, something like that. And I'm going to reduce the size of it as well, excuse me, so there's more brightness. There we go. And now I can make adjustments to what's happening with that vignette. The preset setting had already turned on the exposure, the contrast, the highlights, the shadows, and the whites down here. And I want to adjust that. I want it to be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to pull the exposure upward. So it's only minus 11 down there. Let's turn off the contrast adjustment. See how that goes. Back on again. No, actually I like it. It's protecting those shadow areas a bit. And then let's lighten the shadows a touch. Just about right there. And I don't think I need to change the whites. Do I need to change the saturation? So something interesting about this is that with Perfectly Clear, when you adjust the exposure, it does not alter the saturation of the colors, which is totally unique. Something like Lightroom or Photoshop, they make a picture appear brighter by adding white to some of the pixels, and it becomes washed out doing that. But as I make exposure adjustments with Perfectly Clear, I don't have any of those saturation changes. And so that is really cool. Like if I use the vignette tool in Lightroom, it's going to become more saturated as I darken in the edges. And Perfectly Clear's tool prevents that, which I love. And yeah, that's looking good. Zoom back out to 100% here. And I think I'm ready to go. But one thing I might want to do is just save this as a preset, because I often photograph in this kind of situation. And so maybe I'll have, I'll have more foggy green landscapes to work with. So I'll save a preset over here under the settings wheel, and we'll just add a preset, and I'll call it Foggy Forest. And it'll end up in my imported presets, or I could change where that falls if I've got another folder full of presets. I can't add it to the built-in presets that came with Perfectly Clear. I can't add it to those folders, but I can add it to a folder that I've already created. And maybe I'll even add a little icon. I'll use the mountain icon, which reminds me that it's a landscape preset. And I could also describe it here. I could say enhanced greens with a gentle vignette, and then hit save. And now I've got that preset saved for me. I'll hit the Foggy Forest and turn that one back on. And then I'll just hit save for the whole photograph here, and it brings it right back into Lightroom. And people are weighing in here. We've got Roger Walton tuning in. He says, very helpful. John Lentz from Nashville. Welcome aboard, John. The Dr. Curtis, I'd like to, he'd like to be entered in the raffle as well. And Brother 10, BR10, welcome aboard. And Cecil, hi Cecil, good to see you. Can we discuss at some point how the batch processing works? How to get photos back into Lightroom as the same or different file name? Yes, as in the same name, same file, different name. Yes, that's on our agenda today, Cecil. In fact, we could do that next. How do we do there?
Well, considering I have my portraits lined up to go.
Are you ready to roll?
Can we do that one?
Yes, please. Let's do it. So share your screen with us, V. And feel free, if you saw something you want to ask a question about, you can ask us a question anytime. And don't forget, this is recorded. As soon as we stop broadcasting now, you can watch this again and pick up any of the mouse clicks that we did or anything like that.
All right, can I show my screen?
Yes, please. Oh, and David Zabel's tuning in from Cathlemet, Washington. Welcome aboard, David.
There. All right, great. So here I am. Are we all set, Levi?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so I'm in Photoshop, and the first thing I like to do is I like to make this a smart object, because Perfectly Clear becomes a smart filter, meaning I can change the effect after I create it. So now I have it set. Let's launch Perfectly Clear. Now, with the Assassin series, the shoots that I'm doing here, I purposely have to shoot it with such a light to make it look dramatic, but because in a moment we're going to apply a special effect to it. We're all set here. So here's before and here's after. Now, the reason why I said that little crevice is Perfectly Clear looks at this and says, hey, Vanelli, you screwed up royal. Your exposure is way off. Well, no, I purposely wanted it to be less exposed because my other filter is going to fix this for me. So I'm glad it did it, but I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to slightly change it. And this is what I need right about here. Let's look at the eyes. Good. And I like what you said before, Levi. These don't have to be 100% accurate, like in between the eyes. It does a great job with it without it. This is just if you want to fine tune it.
Right, right.
Look at that, before and after. Good. And the only thing, and I love what it's doing with her skin. I love how it's just bringing a little extra in. Now, detail. Normally we want sharpening. In this case, I'm taking it off because, once again, the preset I'm going to show you uses its own sharpening. So now that I have my image slightly adjusted, and if this were, let's say, a teenage boy with a lot of blemishes, this is where Perfectly Clear really shines because it fixes all that for me before I add my preset. So I'm going to come over here and let's just create this as a preset. And I'm going to call this Assassin Woman. So now it's set, and I'll hit apply. There, I have it here. Now here's a little Camera Raw preset that I created. Usually I use it for sports, but I could modify it slightly for the assassin look, unless I put it in here already. Yep, I did. Here's, oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Boom. So now that that's set, we went from a simple image, and with one click, I have this. Now, the reason why we're going to keep this as a smart object, watch this. If I double click on the smart object, notice I had a little careless with the C-stand.
Oh, right.
So I can come over here, and let's do content aware fill. So now I fixed it. I'm going to save this here, and once I save it, notice it's going to take a few seconds. That's because it's actually rerunning Perfectly Clear for me.
And you're
phone.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great reason to use a smart filter, smart object.
Yep, I'm sorry, your audio cut out on me. But so within a short time, I was able to do this. Now, if I did the same thing with this look here, I'm going to convert it, run the Perfectly Clear again. And so once you did it once, now we're going to streamline it, and it's going to take on the same look that I did earlier. Let's see. Assassin Woman. Could he's find? I'll apply it. Filter. Camera Raw. And for this one, I'll use the Sport Grit. There we are. And apply. And there we have it. So just the fact that we're able to create presets, we're able to make our life a lot easier by just streamlining our edits. Then we can even create an action to make sure the action does it for us. So now it's just one click and we're set.
That's awesome.
All right, let me cancel the screen.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And so,
stop.
Do you how many do you have in your Assassin series?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Levi. Let's do this.
Can you?
Now I can hear
me.
Yeah.
So you're having trouble
your audio. Yep.
Is anybody else having trouble hearing me? That would really cut this pretty short.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now, V?
Yep, I'm all set now.
Okay. Okay. How many pictures do you have in your Assassin series?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's very.
Oh,
good.
you're scared. Oh, hey, I thought you wanted me to cue them up, and I got a little nervous.
No. I'm just curious. But
since we did the Assassin series, we've been shooting for a little over a year now.
Right on.
Almost a year and a half. We got a few hundred of them.
Do you only shoot one at a time? Like, do you only shoot one person at a time?
No. I'll do a casting call. Like if I'm in town for more than 3 days, and I need to write an article for Photo Focus.
Yeah.
We'll do an open casting call, and we'll get maybe 10 or 15 people show up, and we just bomb through the looks, and then I come up with different concepts and ideas while they're there.
Right on. Okay. Well, that's cool.
You know how that goes. Our time gets limited, so we have to make sure we squeeze every second out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing those with us, B. I've got some from a recent shoot that I'd like to show you. 2 ways to batch process, because Cecil was asking about batch processing. And there's 2 good ways to do it with Perfectly Clear. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I think everybody can see my screen here. And what I've done is I'm going to hide that. There we go. I've gone through and I've made some selections, and I've got 6 pictures selected. And let's add a couple more here. That's a good one. And there's my friend Bill with his dog. We'll add one with the dog. Yeah, let's grab this one. The dog is the main star. And then one from the end down here too. How about that one? And now I will, since I'm in the grid view, anything I do on one photograph is going to be applied to others. So if I've got multiple pictures selected and I choose to edit in, it's going to open all of those pictures in Perfectly Clear at the same time. And it still allows me to work on a single picture one by one, but I can also take the settings I refine for one of the pictures and apply them to all the pictures at the same time. Much like we do when we sync settings in Lightroom, we can sync settings in Perfectly Clear too. And so those are opening up. And remember, it's creating a new TIFF file. So my original RAW file is untouched and protected here in Lightroom. And so if I need to go back to it and do something from scratch, it's always there. And Perfectly Clear is just giving me a brand new file to work with. So let's take this one. This is one of my favorites. And let's do some touch-ups on here. I'll quickly go through, and this is the default setting. It said the exposure should be there. I'm going to go a little bit brighter, and then I'm going to check out the other contrast, or the other depth method here. Yeah, I'm going to go with high contrast this time. I like that better. And maybe bring up the blacks, which is making the blacks blacker, is what this is doing. And I like that for his jacket. Now I'll come down to color, and it says tint has been detected, which I suspected. I'm also going to bring the fidelity down a ways. Let's see what it's doing for the leash. Yeah, do you see the leash and his shirt? They become more purple when I turn the fidelity on. I'm going to turn it back up after all. Yeah, because she had a vibrant purple leash on, and with that activated, it maintains that vibrancy. So I like that. Let's check out the tint correction and see if it's good. It's a little strong right there. Let's swap that to the default and see it before and after. Not much happening. I'll turn it up a ways and see if I can see anything. Not a lot going on with it. So I think it's not a significant tint, and I'm pretty content with it anyway. I'm going to turn off the foliage enhancement, and we'll come down to details. I also like to turn off sharpening for myself, and let's turn on let's check out the face selection. Looking good. Like it picked his eyeballs right on without any trouble. And so let's go to the eyes now. And with the eyes, I love this. The dark circles is my favorite tool. Do you see what that did for the lines under Bill's eyes? It just mitigates their depth. I know Bill works a lot, and he's got a little bit of darkness under his eyes, but we can mitigate the impact of those lines with the dark circles button. And what's really cool to me is that it doesn't eliminate that line, but it just reduces its impact, because that line is a feature of his face. If I went in there in Photoshop and used the clone stamp tool to remove it, it would be a bad idea, because that is one of the defining features of his face. I'll also turn on Eye Enhance, And let's turn it up a little bit and see how it's going. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's do that. And then let's go to the face. See about teeth whitening. His teeth aren't too shabby, really. In fact, I think it may not be recognizing his teeth in this one, which is okay. Face contouring is pretty cool and just can take off some of the width of a face. I don't know that Bill needs it, but it's a cool tool anyway. I'm going to leave it on for now, just for fun. And let's go to skin, because there's something in here I'd like to use. Of course, we can use the perfectly smooth to reduce some of the impact of the texture of his skin, but especially where Bill is a man, I want to go easy on this one. So I'm going to pull it way down, and I've got it set to subtle anyway, which is good. If I turn it up to super smooth and turn it way up high, he turns into a mushy Barbie doll. I don't want that at all. So I'll just hit Control Z, undo that, and switch it back to subtle. And then I might turn on the blemish removal to take care of some of the more coarse features on his skin, some of the pimples and pocks and things. But the one that's really going to help me here is the infrared removal. And as I turn this up a little bit, it reduces the pinkness in his cheeks. I mean, it's a cold morning when we were out here shooting, and so he's got some pink in his cheeks, but people also flush in front of the camera. They blush a little bit, and that heat in their face is recorded by our cameras as red. And let's see, Cecil says he lost us. Is that just Cecil? Did anybody else lose us? Vanelli, can you see me?
Yep, I see you.
And you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Cecil, I think you better just refresh. I hope you get back in here. I'm going to turn down the smoothing a little bit on there after all. But that infrared can be recorded by our cameras as the color red, and that's just not natural. It does a great job on like rosacea in the skin, like the cheeks and nose as well. So that infrared removal is removing some of that redness in his face. I love it. That's a cool tool. Now, this picture is extremely different from the other pictures down here, but I can still take the settings from this one, and if I hit the sync settings button down here in the bottom corner, I'm going to make this full screen. There we go. Oh, nope, that went the other way. There we go. Sync settings right there. If I click sync settings, it applies the current settings to all the remaining photos. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then when we come over here, we'll see that even though he's in a different spot, even though it's a different exposure and a different composition, the same things are still applied. This was a bad example because this is a fuzzy picture. But you can see that it's removing the redness from his face, even though he's out of focus. And it's enhancing the purples. Look at her collar. The dog's leash is much brighter and more vibrant. Let's go to a better example. Let's try this one. There we go. Look at the before and after on there. It's reducing the redness in his cheeks. It's brightening his eyeballs and giving us the better purples. And it did all that without me telling it to. So that's one way, Cecil, that's one way that we can batch process by using the sync settings button down there. But there's another great way. And the way we'll do it is this. Not that one. This one. We will add a preset here, and we'll just call it Bill and Pooch. And now I can use this preset from Lightroom without even opening Perfectly Clear. So I'm going to close these and not even activate them, or excuse me, not even save the settings on there. And what I'll do now is take the same pictures that are already highlighted and go into the export dialog. So I'll right-click and choose export, and just go to the main export window. And instead of exporting, so normally my settings are set to export to a hard drive like this. Instead, click right here and choose Export to Perfectly Clear Complete. And now it adds this top bar. And if I click on here, I can choose my user presets. And now, right down here, there's the Bill and Pooch preset. And you make sure you click the Hide Perfectly Clear window. If you don't, then when you hit Export, it'll open perfectly clear and you'll have to hit the Save button on every photo. Instead, click Hide Perfectly Clear. And so now this is how we do it, Cecil. This is how we can choose where the pictures are going to go. I'm going to put them in the same folder as the original photo, and I'm going to put them in a subfolder called Edits. And then I could rename them. So same photo with a different name. This is how we do it, Cecil. We do Bill. And then right here, I can choose the JPEG quality as well. And it looks like BR10 had a question. He said, what is JPEG quality if opening a raw image from Lightroom to edit in PC? Well, so in this case, like right now, BR10, I am setting that quality. And it's actually opening my original file in full quality. And then, excuse me, I could be saying that wrong. I'm going to end up with a picture that is limited to 1,000 kilobytes and 1920 by 1080 as maximum dimensions, because that's what I've set right now. So that's what I'm telling it to use. If I told it to make me a JPEG that was 8,000 pixels by 8,000 pixels, it would be resizing. And I could click the Don't Enlarge button if I don't want it to get bigger than my original picture. But when I use the export dialog, I choose these settings here. Now, what we did before was we chose Edit In. And when I do that, I also choose the settings. So when you right-click on a picture and choose Edit In, you can also choose the TIFF or JPEG settings to use in Perfectly Clear. So that's totally up to you, BR10, as far as what quality Perfectly Clear Complete is going to be working with. And I'm just going to go like that. In fact, I'm also going to edit or include my watermark, because this is a great way to send proofs to my clients. I don't have to go through and hand touch every picture, but it's going to automatically retouch his face and his eyes and all those things really quickly. And then I can just send him those and say, of these, which are your favorites? And I'll put the finishing touches on them, but they've already been touched up pretty nicely. And it's a terrific way to send proofs out. So when it's done, it pops up and says, this is completed successfully. So I click OK. And now over here in my folder, I've got the edits that we created. And they're coming right in. And here they are with my watermark applied even. And that's the full size that they are. The purples are enhanced and the colors are looking great. And everything, I've done this twice now with some of these pictures. And so we've got multiples of some of them. Okay. But yeah, it looks like that answered your question too, BR10. And that should be a good example of how to do batch processing 2 different ways. Did I miss anything, V?
No.
Sounds good.
I show an example.
What's that?
Yeah, I'll show an example.
Yeah, take it away. Yeah, show us how that works.
All right, so I'm back in Photoshop again. Like that. All right, now, remember I mentioned earlier that we can create an action? Well, all I did was I created an action for F12, and what that's going to do is it's going to make this a smart object, and then it's going to launch Perfectly Clear. So if you find yourself constantly doing something over and over and over again, create an action or create a preset. So here we are in Perfectly Clear, and I really like look at this. Before, I mean, I thought that this is how I delivered the image to the client. And then by running it through Perfectly Clear, look what it's doing to the eyes and just touching up the skin slightly. I really like the way this is looking. Now I'm going to come over here to the new gradient filter, and we can make a decision. We can either go from the bottom, or like we did earlier, I can come around and make it more like a vignette. Look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we can control the amount on it too. I'll bring the side down just a touch. Right about here. And bring it in. About there. Good. So it's had a little bit more dramatic effect to him. Now, I really like how this looks, but I'm also going to head over to here to our presets. I'm sorry, down here to our looks. And there's a lot of built-in looks that we can do. One of my favorite is the crisp one. I really like, you know what? This is killing me right here a little bit. Let me move that for a second. Good. What I want to do is change it. Right, there we go.
That's better.
And then a little less. Right about there. There we go. All right. So, but now look what we just did here, before and after. Within a short time, we're able to take a decent look. I mean, a very good image that the client actually likes a lot. And now I'm turning it into something that, since he's an actor, this would be the image that he would give to the casting agents. So this would be great for modeling. This would be great for acting.
Oh, right on.
Same thing. It's on a smart object. So if there's anything in the image that I want to change, if there's anything here, I can just go back into my smart object, make my changes, and then it comes right back. Now, where this came really useful for me was I did this photo shoot here, and I think I called you about this, Levi.
Oh yeah, no, it looks great. Yeah. You called me. Fidelity called me and said, "Oh, we didn't get any good pictures. It was so hard and it was terrible." And everyone who told me has knocked my socks off. Look at that thing. That's beautiful.
But it killed me. So again, by converting it to, let's say, a classic black and white look.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
I'll come down a little more. There we go. So I took what I thought was a type of an image, and then just within a few minutes, I'm able to change stuff up here. And I got this new gradient filter. Man, it saves me so much time where I don't have to go back into Lightroom or Photoshop. Actually, it's right there. I don't have to go back into Lightroom and Photoshop to get that look. I can do it from inside perfectly clear.
Right. And since you've made it a smart object, you can go back and edit it anytime you want as well.
Exactly. All right, let's see. That's going the inside to the out. There we go. So there. Now, look what it's doing to the eyes.
Yeah.
All right. And bip, I hit apply. And a few short moments. There it is.
Oh, that's striking. That's striking.
Yep. So, like I said, so I was able. To me, I know you're laughing, but to me, it actually saved the shoot because I didn't like the color version. I mean, I like it, but it just wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah.
When I showed the client this is exactly what they were looking for. They said it turned into like an old Hollywood style shoot for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very Hollywoody.
Yeah, that's the power, like I said, of the new of the looks that we can apply into these images, and it's a one-click preset. So you know, if you ever get stumped on what should you do with one of your images, just come over here to the looks. I have a vintage love preset one.
Ooh,
okay,
yeah.
Look.
Oh
so
man,
these are the custom ones that we build.
Right.
And again, now it's giving us a totally different look. And you can decide what you want to do from here. But the point I'm getting at is whenever you feel like you're in a rut, you take the photos and you come back and I can't do anything with these photos. Run them through this, see what it does, And then the next time you go back, oh, I like that.
Oh yeah.
And then
Cool.
the next time you go back to your shoot, what you can do is, can I stop screen? There we go. My screen still sharing?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, good. So then what happens is you change it, you fix it, so that when you go back out shooting again, you'll make a mental note and say, hey, you know what? I really wish I did it this way last time. Let me fix it for this shoot. And then when you go back to perfectly clear, you have it all set.
Awesome. I like that. Well, and I like too that you could quickly see the effects of those things. I mean, those are all things that you know how to do in Photoshop. I don't know how to do in Photoshop, but they're things that you know how to do in Photoshop. But if you had to take the time to apply the vignette and apply the split toning and apply the fading look on each one, that time that you spend doing it and maybe going down the wrong path, it wears you out. But if you can click and see immediately those different filter options, it inspires your creativity right now, and really really helps you to stay excited about a picture, I think, and helps you choose quickly what the right path is going to be, even if you end up going down that path manually later in Photoshop and doing something similar. You got there much faster, which.
Well, yeah, it's the old-fashioned. When they used to shoot and film, they would bring a Polaroid camera with them.
Exactly.
Right, and the Polaroid would take pictures of everything around them, and they would lay it all out and say, okay, well, I need light here, I need light there. That wasn't the final product. In our case, what's really neat is you can use perfectly clear as your final product. So you go down that path, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I like this. Click, save it as a preset, done, and then you start applying it to all your other images, and then make your tweaks from there.
And like you did with that other photo, the actor, even though you had already delivered it, sometimes you go back into perfectly clear and try something different, and you really like it. And so it's a great first stop for a photograph. It's a great, on pictures that I already think I've finished, I use it again and love the results. You can use it anywhere in there. Ideally, I try to start with it. You know, I'll do a white balance adjustment in Lightroom, and then go directly to perfectly clear with the photograph and create a preset and batch edit the entire shoot that way. And that, for me, is a really fast way to work. And it gets me more time to do the creative button clicking. You know, like when I'm clicking the mouse buttons, I am losing money. People don't pay me to click the mouse button. They pay me to click the shutter button. When I click the shutter button, I get paid. But when I'm clicking the mouse buttons, I am losing money doing this. I'm losing time. And so the faster I can get there, the faster I'm making money. Now, it's not just for people who make money at this, but the faster I can do the technical problems, the sooner I can get to being creative in my finishing. And that's valuable.
Plus you spend more time with your family. I mean, this is great for, I wish we had this years ago. Okay, so it's ironic. Lightroom, when Lightroom came out, all of a sudden, as a photographer, I did 90% of my work in Lightroom, 10% in Photoshop. Now, when Perfectly Clear came out, I'm doing all of my organizing in Lightroom, all my file structures, importing my images, making all my selects, slight cropping. I'm doing 90% of my work now in Perfectly Clear because I can, as a portrait photographer, I can do this. Years ago, when we shot for our family photos, I wish I had this because then I could have just selected all of them in one shot, batch process, enhance the eyes, the skin, the blemishes, and then get back to the party and not have them say, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done?
Yeah, I love that. I agree. Can I show one more picture, V?
Yep, we have 2 minutes.
Portrait to work on. We've got a few minutes. And while I'm showing you this picture, anybody who has not weighed in with a comment, you ought to leave us a comment. You ought to say hello or ask us a question, because that enters you in the drawing for a complimentary copy of Perfectly Clear Complete, full version. And Jim says, I'm glad this is recorded so I can review this great material. Yes, it is. It is great that it's recorded. And there's a couple of tips I have for the recording. First of all, don't watch it at 1x speed. You should play us back at 1.25 or 1.5 inch. I mean, when you play V back at 2x speed and he sounds like a chipmunk, it is just great. So play it back fast and get to the parts that you need help with, and then rewind it and pause it and watch where we're clicking, and that'll help you get through things really quick. Marcia Facey just tuned in and said hello. It's good to see you back here, Marcia. And that enters her in the raffle for a complimentary copy of Perfectly Clear Complete 2. Let me share my screen, and I'm going to go as fast as I usually go on a portrait. Here we go. I've got this picture of Harry, and it's looking good, but there's a few things that I think could refine it and get it just a little better. So I'm going to edit a copy. Right there in that little window, BR10, you were asking when I click here, and how do I get my quality settings? This may be the copy file options. That may be collapsed when you launch it the first time. So expand that, and now you can choose TIFF, PSD, or JPEG. Don't choose PSD. PSD doesn't work in Perfectly Clear. This is a Lightroom option, but it's not available in Perfectly Clear. So you've got to choose JPEG or TIFF. The TIFF is the bigger, better way to go. Let me just leave it at that. And then my picture's open over here in Perfectly Clear. I'm going to zoom in a touch on that one, right about there, and bring Harry up front and center. I'll go into the tone, the exposure. I love what it does, man. It gives me a little bit more light without being overpowering and without blowing anything out. I'm going to keep the high contrast. That's the way I like to shoot. And I like that it's giving me some light in the background on the stairs that were behind him, but without being overpowering. Colors, I don't think I need to work on colors in this one. I'll double check the face collection here. It's looking pretty good. I'll pull it over a touch. And something like that. And now let's go to eyes. Eye enhancement. Oh yeah, not bad. Got a little juice, a little sharpening, a little brightness. I like that. Eye enlarge. This is an interesting tool, and I don't use it very often at all. But if I needed to, I could use this and do it from Photoshop, so that I could blend in just this left eye and brighten it up to be this, like, use it to blend the pictures together and get some enhancement out of it. I don't know. Mess with it yourself and see if it fits into your workflow. The dark circles, they aren't bad. Like he doesn't have that kind of dark. Of course, he's a teenager. What kind of stress does he have? So not like the circles that V and I get staying up late writing articles and things. Catch lights is a cool tool. Catch lights means the light reflections in the eyeballs. If you use it, my favorite one to use that I would recommend is the outdoors. If you just don't have catch lights in your eyes, I do from the umbrella I was using, but the outdoors one is the most gentle and subtle and can really help quite a lot in a portrait. But I don't need it for this one. Face. Let's go to face. Let's check out. We don't need face contouring on this guy. He hasn't earned that yet. Let's turn on the skin though. We'll give it a little perfectly smooth. And perfectly smooth works on the fine details, while blemish removal works on the gross details, the macro details, the zits and things. And it's a good tool. Look at that. There's before and there's after. Now, it doesn't always remove a big pimple, because a big pimple looks an awful lot like a mole. And we need to be careful removing moles and freckles and scars and stuff from people, because those can be defining features, and they may not like it if you go removing stuff like that.
Could you imagine if they did that to Cindy Crawford when she first started?
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine? Holy cow. I'm going to use a little bit of this infrared removal. It may not be coming through in the broadcast much, but it is working on the red in his skin a bit. I like that. There's my before and after. And then I'm going to save a preset called Harry. seeing your pictures because I've got a whole bunch of other portraits to do of them, and I'll just do those as a batch edit. I'll put a tuxedo icon for fun and hit save, and then when I hit save, it brings me right back to Lightroom. And it's such a fast way to get things done. So there's my original picture, and here it is with perfectly clear touch-ups. And his skin is looking much less distracting. You know, pimples are normal; everybody gets them, but we don't want them to distract from the viewer's experience. I'll come back in here with the spot removal tool and touch up a few things, but I am ready to roll and feeling satisfied with that picture as it is. Well, V, we've, like they say on Car Talk, you've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to Vanelli and I, and I'm glad you guys tuned in. Oh, Don't Idiot had a quick question about how do you select a face, deselect a face that was automatically found when you want to apply a setting to only the woman and not the man. That's a great question. So interestingly, the settings, for the most part, perfectly clear can recognize men and women. It recognizes different facial features and knows which one is a man and which one is a woman, and it does a really good job of it. If you want to apply, but similarly, sometimes maybe I've got one person in the photograph that needs more adjustment than the other, because this also works on group pictures. Like the picture behind me, I use this to finish this family group, and one of the family may need more blemish removal than the rest. The way I would do that is I would set all the settings that I like and set the skin retouching to the normal settings for everybody else in the picture. And I'd save a preset with the skin settings turned on and with the skin or face settings turned off, both of those presets. And then in Photoshop, just create 2 layers and run perfectly clear complete as a filter on both of those layers, and then use an adjustment brush to brush back in the one that has the heavier setting for the single person. What do you think of that? Is that a good?
You know what else, right? You could actually run perfectly clear twice on the same smart object, and then use that second smart object and paint out.
Okay, yeah, so I don't even need to do it as a different layer. I can just do it as a different filter layer. Okay, that's cool. That's a great idea. I like that. Let's see, Alan, I'm glad you created a channel just to comment. Hello in Miami. Hello from Oklahoma. Already okay. I'm glad we can help. And ZJ, thanks for tuning in. The Dr. Curtis, can the new version of Perfectly Clear be used as a plugin with AC/DC? V, you've used AC/DC a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's there yet.
Yeah.
We could check on that. That's definitely something we can look into.
Right. So if it doesn't, it can be used as a, I mean, you'll just need to test it, but it can be used standalone. And then just bring your picture back to AC/DC and put the finishing touches on it. So like I said, we use Perfectly Clear from the very first. We also use it as a finishing tool for putting the last touches on things. I think you guys are going to really enjoy the options you get using Perfectly Clear.
Gotcha.
If there are no more questions, V, why don't we draw a winner?
Yep.
Did you have anything else to add?
Nope, not at all.
All right. Well, let me draw the winner then. I think it's going to be Don't 88. Do you already have it, Don't 88? If you do, leave us a comment, and maybe I could pick somebody else. Okay, Dr. Curtis, you got the standalone part. One reason I'm interested, but as a plugin, the ability to batch would be neat. It is neat, and I'm afraid I just don't have the experience with AC/DC. AC/DC is a Windows only program, isn't it, V?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't I'm afraid I'm ineligible. I'm ineligible for it. Don't 88, are you still here? If not, I'm going to draw another person, and if Don't weighs in, we're going to give it to 2 people. Let's draw another here. Let's draw another. Marcia Facey, are you still in? If you're still here, leave us a comment and tell me that you're still here. Oh, Dr. Curtis tells me that they just did a Mac version of AC/DC. So I will have to give it a shot, I guess. Thanks. Marcia and Don't 88 are both gone? All right, last one. I'm doing one more person.
I would pick Doc.
Doc, the Dr. Curtis. You win. Just send me an email. Levi at Photo Focus. And
he already has it. You give it to a friend.
Yeah, that's true. If you have it, you can give it to a friend. And so send me an email. Oh, good, Marcia. Send me an email too at Levi at photofocus.com, and I will get you hooked up. Give me a little time to do those. You're welcome, Marcia. Give me a day or two to get you sent out. And thank you all for tuning in. Vanelli, where can we catch up with you this day before Hanukkah?
You said somebody was in Miami. Who said they were in Miami?
It's who was in Miami? Alan Eichhoff.
Okay, yeah, I'm giving the Assassin Series lecture in Delray Beach, which is like 30-40 minutes away from Miami.
Oh, nice.
So, taking a whole group of people, and we're going to teach them from click to print how to start with a concept, then build a set with the model, make sure the model has the proper attire. Then we're going to use Perfectly Clear to show how we do the editing with Perfectly Clear, apply the presets, and then where to print them or send them to social media. So awesome. If he's in Miami, he's welcome to come.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds really complete.
Yep.
When is it, V?
It's tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow. Right on. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., Delray Beach. Is there...
Yep. They can find they go to Vanelli and Friends, or they shoot me a message. RobertVanelli@gmail.com, or I think mine is v@photofocus.com.
Right. Awesome. Well, that'd be fun.
It's completely free.
Cool. And my email for the Dr. Curtis is levi@photofocus.com. All 3 of you. Don't 88 is still here. Send me an email, and I'll send you guys a copy of Perfectly Clear. And where else can we catch up with you, V? Do you have an Instagram or anything else coming up?
Yeah, so, of course, photofocus.com. We do 99% of our writing there.
Right.
I think all of us will be at WPPI soon.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
That's coming right up the 1st of February.
Yep, Photoshop World coming up in, what is it, April or May?
One of those 2, yeah.
And then I'm going to have to leave you in your freezing weather. January 5th, we'll be in the Bahamas doing a model shootout.
Oh, that sounds miserable. That sounds really
miserable. Life is rough, Levi.
I know, like the Bahamas, like it's hot down there, man. I don't. No thanks. No thanks. Now me, I'll be. I may be at Imaging USA. I'm not sure about that yet. That's in Nashville this year, and yeah, I'll be at WPPI as well. You can catch me on photofocus.com, Instagram at PhotoLevi, and I've got a workshop coming up in June, I believe, with 9 Quarter Circle Ranch. We'll be photographing cowboys, wildlife, cowgirls, fishing, landscapes. It's in Montana, and it is just a wonderful place to be in June. So I hope you will join us for that too. And with that, I think you guys should get out there and make some pictures and then finish them in Perfectly Clear. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, V.
I'll see you guys soon.